Hollow Knight is one of the most critically acclaimed indie games of the last few years. After building a cult following on PC, Mac, and from all 2 Linux users, its subsequent release on all consoles in 2018 skyrocketed its popularity to must-play status. Having sold over 2.8 million copies, the cutesy, bug-infested, lore-oozing world created by Team Cherry clearly has something unique to offer. Personally, I find atmosphere to be a key factor in how much I enjoy a game. Specifically, a single-player experience where I can't rely on the obvious enjoyment of playing with friends to overcome a game's visual or audio-related shortcomings. Atmosphere to me is directly related to how much I can lose myself in a game's world, and Hollow Knight achieves this to a level eclipsing almost everything else on the market. One of my favourite moments, and probably my favourite game, The Witcher 3, is the simple act of riding into a poor hamleted Velen. The gritty soundtrack of the Hunter's Path theme, combined with the wind blowing through the almost painting-like trees, gives the war-torn landscape more atmosphere than any cutscene ever could. Hollow Knight's soundtrack is nothing short of an atmospheric masterpiece, but why does Christopher Larkin's score fit so well within its setting? 8-Bit Music Theory made several videos explaining the technicalities of Hollow Knight's soundtrack really well, so I'll link that video below. However, I want to look at the score on a more macroscopic level, and demonstrate how it blends with the world of the game so well. As an example, let's take a look at the Fungal Wastes theme. It's not really a standout track from the OST, but I think the almost minimalist level of subtlety and restraint Larkin uses throughout this piece perfectly shows how a soundtrack should fit into a world. The theme mainly revolves around this string ostinato, which is enhanced by the addition of some percussive plucks and ambient sounds. Despite the variation of the ostinato and the introduction of melodic themes, the texture of the music never builds to much more than its original level. This fits perfectly into the overall atmosphere of the Fungal Wastes. There's none of the melancholy grandeur of the City of Tears, or the rich battle themes of the boss fights, because this area is more of an introspective part of the game. The artwork in Twisting Tunnels is so different to the first areas, and to the caverns of the city that follows, that the change in pace allows the player to think about how strange and varied the world they're exploring is. You might notice the melody whilst trying to bounce off one of these weird purple mushrooms, but the whole idea is that the score soaks into the world and doesn't distract you too much. This is one of the reasons Hollow Knight's soundtrack is so good, in my opinion. It knows when to take your breath away and when to sit back and let you develop a mood all on your own. I've already mentioned the variation in Hollow Knight's artwork between its areas, and I think the game's art style is a unique selling point all on its own, but the way it is implemented as you run around the kingdom of Hallownest is what turns the beautiful drawings into a thick atmosphere that's dripping with character. Although it's a 2D game, Hollow Knight creates depth with distinct layers of its world. Alongside the level that the player stands on, there are multiple layers of foreground and background, which create a cavernous sense of the ruins you're exploring. One of my favourite examples of the extreme attention to detail in Hollow Knight is that the first layers of background and foreground, those which are closest to the player, are fully interactive. Being able to smash statues or slice through overgrown vines with a satisfying spray of particles is a fantastic way of creating physical depth. It doesn't feel like your character is running across a 2D world, just that you are viewing a 3D world from a 2D perspective. Not only this, but it also emphasises the overgrown and dilapidated nature of Hallownest, contributing to the game's atmosphere. The other visual feature that helps to create depth in the game is the use of parallax. This is the idea that as your vision converges on a single point, things further away from you appear to move slower. In Hollow Knight you'll notice objects such as lampposts and fences in the foreground whizzing past, while the twisting caverns behind the player move slower the further away they are. The implementation of this feature in Hollow Knight is some of the best I've seen, and it creates a sense of 3D immersion that blends so well with the rest of the game you might not even notice it. All this visual and auditory atmosphere is great, but there's no point to it if the game doesn't invoke a desire in you to explore every part of its handcrafted world. The game's cryptic lore certainly achieves this, and in my opinion, it's hugely augmented by the host of strange bugs you meet along the way. The vendors, the fellow adventurers trying to uncover lost secrets, this weird giraffe thing, and the aged blacksmith who will reforge your weapon. None of these have animated cutscenes or voiceovers that we can understand. Instead, they spout their musings in a foreign insect tongue when interacted with in the game's world. The indecipherable noises they make add to the mystique surrounding Hollow Nest, and the lack of cutscenes prevents the player from being ripped from the immersive world to hear someone's life story. All in all, it's a fantastic way to implement RPG elements without having hours of unnecessary dialogue. For me, the atmospheric icing on the metaphorical cake of Hollow Knight is its gemstone level of polish. The elements I've talked about in this video are integrated so seamlessly with each other and with the gameplay that you don't notice them while playing unless you take the time to look. For these reasons, I think Hollow Knight has one of, if not the best executed atmospheres of any game I've played. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be much appreciated, and if you have any ideas for other games I should make this type of thing on, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.